right, Jim, we're ready to get this thing going.
Let's roll.
Okay, sounds good. Well, everyone, welcome. My name is Michael Kidder. I am a senior account executive with the Journey team. I have Jim Hill with me. I'll let him introduce himself in a second, but you're in the first of many sessions for our 2022 Business Technology Summit. So thanks for being here. I hope the information is valuable and pertinent to your business. We really want to provide a lot of good information about the specific areas of the Microsoft stack that you're interested in. So as you've looked through the schedule, hope you've found a couple of sessions that'll be helpful, and feel free to disseminate the information. Today we're going to be talking about the cans and can'ts in Power BI. Jim will introduce himself a little bit more, but wanted to just give you guys some of the groundwork for this. All the sessions are being recorded, and as you're reading, you'll be on mute. You will have access to the recording later. We'll get to that. If you do have any technical issues with hearing or anything like that, we've got people monitoring the support email. So please send that there. They're going to work with anyone who's having any kind of technical problems getting connected. And we want to make sure you're able to get the most out of the sessions and not have any kinds of issues in the way. In each of the sessions, not just for this, but each session that you're in, we are really always searching for feedback about the sessions, how we can improve it, make it more pertinent for the information that you're looking for. So we really ask you guys to just take a quick moment to fill that out at the end, and we unapologetically incentivize you to do it. We'll be giving away a gift card or some other prize for each of those surveys that you fill out. So it's not just one entry, it's for each session you attend. So the more sessions you attend and the more surveys you fill, the more chances you have to win some pretty cool prizes. We will be giving a brand new Surface Pro away at the end of this thing. So pretty excited about that. But more importantly, any feedback we get, we want to make sure we're tailoring the information to what you want and need to help drive your business. So we appreciate you doing that. The link for that will be at the end of the session. You can also jump back in to the invite itself and see the survey link if you exit and then want to come back to it. So yeah. A bit about JourneyTEAM. If you're doing business with us rather, and I know we've got a lot of customers in the audience, but if this is your first time talking to us, so JourneyTEAM, we are a boutique white glove Microsoft consulting firm. We've been in business right at 29 years. I think that 130 number is a little bit outdated even. We continue to grow. We are what's considered a full stack Microsoft partner. So we do business within each of the different business units that Microsoft has across a variety of different practices. Power BI being one of those, but we do a lot of other things. We've won multiple awards in that space, and we really try to be in a position where we can grow with your business as you need different portions of the stack. There are several of the accolades, but we would love to get to know you better and see what area of our business expertise could be impactful to you. And certainly from the standpoint of being able to just drive business results for our customers is really where we get excited. We get excited about the business challenges and problems that face your customers. And so when you bring those to us and we partner to help deliver a solution that's going to help drive your business, that's what we get excited about. So look forward to answering questions about us and about that. And again, I kind of spoke to this. This is really kind of the breadth and depth of what JourneyTEAM does. I really like throwing icons up, so it's always fun to see the different emblems for things. You go, oh yeah, I'm using Excel, but we're able again to deliver a lot of different help in different areas of the stack. And so if you just go, Michael, today I just want to hear about Power BI, that's fine. We can help you with that. And if in the roadmap of your technology growth and strategy is a CRM or a data migration project or some other portion of Dynamics 365, we want to be able to help with that too. So if there's any additional help you need, again, reach out to the support. I think my contact information and Jim's will be provided here, so feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions. We do have someone monitoring the chat today, so if you've got questions, you can either raise your hand. We'll try to get to those and make sure we're getting answers to your questions during. And if there's anything that comes up after, please reach out to us. We want to make sure you get the information that you need.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael, for that introduction to JourneyTEAM. My name is Jim Hill. I'm a member of JourneyTEAM. I've worked for JourneyTEAM for the last 3 years. And it's so fun to be a part of this Business Technology Summit and talk about the things that I really love, which is getting more value out of the data that's within your organization. Now, I have over 30 years experience developing teams and building data warehouses and business intelligence solutions across many industries. I started in semiconductor, worked for a little while in the transportation industry, and also in retail. So I'm really excited to share some of my insights as we talk on this really cool topic of what can and can't Power BI do. So we'll jump right into that. So the purpose of my presentation is really to focus on helping you understand what Power BI is good for and what Power BI is not good for. So when I first was assigned this topic, I thought of Clint Eastwood, the good, the bad, the ugly. And as Clint contemplated how that related to Power BI, I figured we'd talk about the good, a little bit of the maybe not so good or bad, but we're definitely not going to get into the ugly. So Power BI is a really good platform for your reporting needs. So when you think about accomplishing some task, it always helps to have the right tool for the job. So I just have this little analogy. If I'm building a frame for a picture, I'm probably going to use a hammer. And although this example, the guy absolutely does not know how to hold a hammer, the concept is you use the right tool for the right job. Now, if I'm a contractor and I'm framing out a house, I probably am not going to use a hammer. I'm probably going to go to the nail gun. So what I'm hoping through the presentation today is to give you some insights into how Power BI is the right tool for the job and where you may want to use a different tool to accomplish the things that you want. And in order to talk about that, I want to start out with a story. We're going to say that this is the story of the ABC Deli Company. Now, ABC Deli has a really sharp business analyst. We're going to call him Bob. Bob has lots of experience with finance, understanding how businesses using the data to figure out how a business is performing. He's also really good at using Excel. Now, Bob has one of his primary assignments is pulling and providing insights to the executive team on how the business is performing. In order to do that, he has to, on a weekly basis, reach out to a couple of sources of that data, a database that they maintain, as well as a web application that captures some of their business data. So Bob, every week, has to connect to those systems and manually pull the data down to his desktop so that then he can start organizing it for the executives. Now we know he's good at Excel, so he uses that tool and loads that data from those files manually into the Excel spreadsheet that ultimately he'll give over to the executive team. Once he's pulled that data manually and organized it in Excel, he emails it to the executive team. And that file drops into their inbox once a week. Now, what's wrong here? What are the issues here? If we start out, first of all, it's a very manual effort. Bob is key to making this happen every week. And if he's not there, there's a delay in the data getting through to the executives. Because it's so manual, it also could be prone to errors. So that manual process of cutting and pasting, well, a simple mistake can end up showing the wrong results to the executive team. It's also very manual in that he sends that email to the executive team each week so they can see what's going on. But we know that those executives get a lot of emails. You know, maybe they get 150 or 200 emails a day. They can easily get buried and lost in the flood of information coming into their inbox. Another challenge is that report's very static. It is the one report that Bob prepares each week at the grain of detail that it is, and that's really what the executives get, a spreadsheet full of a lot of numbers. Now, for an executive to really interpret and understand what's going on in the business, they have to compare the numbers and look at things. And it isn't really quickly recognizable where they should focus their attention. This is our scenario, and we'll come back and visit Bob a little bit later. So let's get started. I thought it would be good to bring up the actual definition of what Power BI is. This is right off Microsoft's website, and it's really wordy. So I'm going to highlight and boil it down to the key fundamental pieces. So these are highlighted now in blue. Power BI helps turn your data into insights. It helps you connect to your data sources and visualize and discover what's important, and then allows you to share it with other people. That's basically what Power BI is in a nutshell. Connecting to your data sources, visualizing and discovering within the data, and sharing it with others. All right, now that we've got the definition of Power BI, for those of you that are new to it, I wanted to just briefly talk about how Power BI compares to other tools out in the industry. So there are a lot of different tools that provide visibility to your data, provide some business intelligence capability. Technology quite often is assessed by a company called Gartner. They're one of the leaders out there that assesses across lots of different domains. But in the business intelligence and analytics space, they released at the beginning of this year their latest numbers on assessing how business intelligence software was performing out in industry. And they call their assessment a Magic Quadrant. The way that this is organized is it's based on how complete their vision is on providing all the functionality needed. And that's across this x-axis. And up the y-axis is their ability to execute on this vision that they have. You can see then the top corner is called the leaders quadrant. And you can see up here that Microsoft is the leader in the leaders quadrant. So that tells us that Microsoft has the highest ability to execute on their vision, and they have the highest or most complete vision of what a business intelligence and analytics tool should be. All right, so let's get on to the heart of the discussion. So let's talk about what is Power BI good for. So the first thing that I want to highlight is the fact that Power BI is really good at connecting to a lot of different data sources. So within the platform, there are hundreds of connectors that make it really easy to get at the data that you need to run your business. Now that includes all kinds of things. This is just a small sampling. Some of these things include files like an Excel file or a text file, a CSV file, or a JSON file. They also have the ability to connect to folders that contain multiple files. There's also a whole variety, and this is just a small sampling of the different kinds of databases that Microsoft can connect to. And then also there's a bunch of different services that are things in the Microsoft stack, as well as things that are more generic that allow you to connect to various sources. That makes importing your data very easy. Essentially, you just need to provide the information on where to connect. Usually that's a URL, and the credentials that give you access to the data on that platform. It's that easy. Then there's also for connectors that haven't been developed yet. If you have a service, a web-based service that you have data stored at, you can still get at that if they have an API. So if they have an API, you can use what's called an OData connector and define how you connect to those APIs so that you can get the data from those platforms. All right, the next thing that's really good about what Power BI is good for is transforming your data. A lot of BI tools strictly deal with taking your data and creating visuals from it. They might have a limited engine for ingesting data and transforming that data into more usable tables, but a lot of them use that data in a really flat format, similar to what you would have in Excel. So you import a single table that has lots of columns and rows, and then you build your reports off of that. Power BI has a really solid engine that helps you not only ingest your data, but also transform it so that you can get more value out of it. The tool that's built inside of Power BI is called Power Query. It is Microsoft's technology that facilitates connecting to data and then also preparing your data within the platform. It lets you automate data sourcing. So once you've done your connection, you've built whatever kind of transformations you want, it allows you to schedule the refresh of that data. So your data is automatically up to date and you always have the latest information flowing through to your reports. It also lets you clean and enhance that data. So you can see this is just a corner clip from Power Query. It lets you do things like define a new data source, modify or transform your data using a graphical user interface that lets you customize what happens without having to write a lot of code. Now, there is a rich code language behind it that you can utilize as well, but a lot of the steps in transforming that data can be done by just using a simple user interface and a dynamic menu that lets you perform different tasks in transforming that data. So as you connect to a source, it creates a query, which essentially is a table. And you can bring in tables from many different sources and then utilize those within your reporting. It also, once you've brought in those tables, Power BI lets you connect those tables together in a structure that makes reporting much easier. As you transform those sources, you want to put them into the most optimal data structures to support the reporting. Typically, you put it into a structure that is commonly referred to as a star schema. What a star schema is simply a set of tables, and the center of your star is a table that's called a fact table. It contains things. A good example would be something like a sales table or an orders table, or it could be an opportunities table for your sales team. Within that table are the things that get summarized. So like sales or orders or opportunities with their corresponding dates and keys that connect them to the dimensions. So an example of sales, you may have the business unit associated with the sales, or the customer associated with the sales, or the product, or the salesperson. All of these peripheral tables are called dimension tables. And within Power BI, it's really easy to be able to filter or slice or aggregate using those dimension tables as those grouping attributes. So this is an example of a model that could be built and is very easy to build using Power Query. The next topic of what is Power BI good for is visualizing your data. This one is really one that I personally find really important, and I love to work with companies to get more value out of their data by bringing out what's significant within their data. You know, it's fairly easy to just return a table full of numbers, but then it takes a lot of processing by the person that's interpreting that data to be able to know what's really going on. As you take a good data model and build visualizations off of it, this is where the real value comes in. So quickly someone can understand what's happening within the business and narrow in and focus in on those things that are really important. So one of the ways that you accomplish this is by building what's called measures which are just calculations. But one of the really nice techniques that help bring your data to light is building measures that compare things. So for example, if you want to compare sales by region to the goals for that region, you can create a measure that calculates how far above or below that goal is the group performing. And this can be across anything. It can be comparing goals or prior periods. If one of the key ways you compare your business is how well it performs from one period to the other, it really makes a lot of sense to create those comparisons so a person can hone in very quickly and see what's happening. In addition to creating the comparison measures, it's also super important to add highlighting. Power BI supports the concept of conditional formatting, which lets you very quickly see those things that are high or low, or that the comparison value is out of whack. It's really nice to highlight those things so the viewer of the report doesn't have to take time and try to do mental math to calculate, all right, is that number I'm seeing good or bad? You want to make it as easy as possible for them to see, even somebody who may not be super familiar with the business, to quickly interpret what are those things that need to be focused on. So I want to talk to you about a real life example. This is a spreadsheet of data for a company that does HVAC work. So they install and maintain heating and cooling systems for businesses. And this is the spreadsheet that the CEO would use each week to look at how his staffing was lining up against the projects that were on the books. And if you look at this example, his business really focuses on 3 types of employees. He has pipe fitters, plumbers, and sheet metal workers. Each one of those disciplines or job types have hours estimated on the projects that they have signed. And you can see week by week, it shows the level of commitment that they have scheduled for each one of those disciplines. Over on the right, there is an available number of hours based on how many employees that company has in each one of those disciplines. But then the CEO would have to look at the individual numbers, compare them to that base value on the right of his available resources, and try to identify where his shortcomings were. Now, this process was tedious. It was prone for error, and it really gave him difficulties trying to figure out where he should focus his own efforts on either staffing up or getting more work. So this CEO came to JourneyTEAM and asked us to help him visualize how his business and his allocations were working. This is an example of one of the reports that we built for this CEO. As you can see, across the center section, there's 3 sections. The first one is pipe fitters available. The second is plumber available. And the third one is sheet metal available. It took those base data, and actually also we incorporated his employee staffing from his employee system, and we calculated how far under or over he was going to be with his allocations based on the type of employee. So if we look at the pipe fitters, you can see he has 5.1 hours more work than he has employees for the current week. The next week he has a couple of hours, but then he kind of goes into a position where for about 3 weeks, they're almost exactly on with their employee allocation per project. But after that, he's going to need to bring in more work, or he's going to have people understaffed. The next one over, you can see he definitely has a problem with plumbers. He's way understaffed for the amount of plumbing work that's coming up over the next several weeks. And then if you look at the last one, the sheet metal workers, he's okay. He's actually got a little overcommitment for this week, then a couple of weeks of good, and then he needs to find more work. This is the type of things that help businesses really focus in on what's important and where they need to do work. It makes their data much more actionable. And I think that's one of the super big strengths of Power BI. You can organize your data to give that visibility, to see what's important, and then you can highlight it to help the business really quickly see what they need to focus on. All right, let's move on to the next, what is Power BI good for? And that is the ability to discover the why in your data. All right, so what I'm talking about is Power BI makes it easy to explore and discover what's behind the data that they're seeing. If you present just the highest level data and it's in a very numeric format, it takes a little bit of work to understand what's happening in the business. Power BI lets you explore and discover what's going on in your business in multiple different ways. One of those ways is the interactivity between visuals. First of all, on a Power BI page, you can place multiple visuals. Perhaps you have a bar chart, perhaps you have a trend line, you may have a geographic map. You can have various different views of your data. By default, Power BI enables interaction between those visuals. It takes advantage of the relationships inside the data model that you've built. And when you click on one element within one visual, you have the ability to either filter the other visuals on the page or cross-highlight. So you can see how that one piece of information that you've chosen to select affects the other visuals on the page. It's a really cool way to explore your data. In addition to that interactivity between visuals, Power BI also supports the ability to drill through to other pages of information or to drill down. Well, first of all, let me finish this. To drill through or to drill across reports to really get a deeper understanding of what's happening with the data that's in your model. In addition to that, I started to mention this, Power BI also supports drill down capability. Now, what this means is that you can build groupings and then organize hierarchies of attributes that are in your dimension tables that let you start at a high level and drill to lower levels of detail. An example might be that you have products by category. You could start at the product category level, maybe drill down to another level of product, maybe there's a subcategory, and then even drill to another level down to the detailed products and see what's contributing to higher sales or lower sales or whatever the measure is that you're trying to investigate. The ability to group things is really powerful in those dimensions. And then also the fact that you can build hierarchies makes it really easy to build this drill down capability and let you explore your data to know what's really going on behind the scenes. All right, let's take a look at Power BI and take a second to understand what's happening with those different types of capabilities. So this example is of a example of a data set. It's just a fictitious data set. If I can get this to, hang on, gotta go back. One more time, let's see if I can get this to play. All right, this is an example of a company called Van Arsdale. They're a retailer that works across the globe, and this data compares how they're doing to other companies. Now I'm going to click on Van Arsdale, and you can see how the chart on the right, that line chart, filtered down to just Van Arsdale. That's an example of how the visuals interact with one another. If I click again, it takes off that filter that was applied. I can also look at things like in this map chart. If I click on that, it filters down, and I can see this little funnel shows me that it's filtering by the USA. And now when I use this bubble chart and do a play, I'm just looking at the visual the way it appears for the United States. Really cool features. And this is just one of a lot of fun visuals. Now, if I come back and unclick North America to show the whole world again, I want to show an example of cross-highlighting. If I click on Europe, up in the top, now you can see these highlighted bars show you how Europe's performing compared to the percent growth across the whole rest of the world. Really valuable to be able to use that interactivity. Those are just a couple of examples. You have a lot of control. Now let's look at another page in Power BI. This one really shows the growth percent, and you can see how we've used visuals to highlight how much growth by countries. Now the interactivity is still there. If I click on Australia, you can see how the chart on the right changes to just be Australia. And now I can quickly compare other countries in the world. Now I can click on Canada to see how Canada is performing. And I could do that on each country. But as you notice, Nigeria has negative growth. If I click on that, I can see that there were some strong periods last year that were underperforming this year. But I want to understand more. So there's a lot of ways I can drill into this data. First of all, let's explore these arrows at the top, which allow you to drill down. If you click on the double arrow, it drills down to the next level in hierarchy, which is state. Now, this is all states, not just the state or the country we were looking at. And that's interesting, and that may be what you want to look at. But I've got to do a lot of scrolling to look at the country I'm interested in. So I'm going to drill back up, and I'm going to use this double forked arrow, which now drills down but keeps the country context in play. Once again, I've got to drill all the way to the bottom to see Nigeria. So let's jump back up. Look at there's a circled arrow, which is drill mode. And if I click on that, that stays in place. So when I click on a country, now it only shows me that country in the drill down. So now I can see that of the states in Nigeria, Rivers is doing really well, but Lagos, not so good, and neither is Kano. So those states are underperforming. If we click on Kano with that drill mode, it shows me there was only one area there that I could explore. So let's jump back up to the top. So drill down is super helpful. Let's also look at drill through. If I right click on a country name, a menu will pop up and you can see towards the bottom there's a drill through. We've built 3 drill through pages that allow us to jump to that page. Now, this is the one by manufacturer. So you can see it opens a new page, and now over in the filter pane, it defaulted to the country I selected, which is Nigeria. Now I can look at different views of this data. So now I've got a product view, and in the product view, rural is underperforming. And if I use the drill down by clicking on those pluses, I can see the productivity is doing great, but the category select is not. Now I can drill down to the next level in the hierarchy, which shows me the product level view. Really cool to be able to drill down, and this is customizable to your instance. What are those areas that you need to explore? You can build a hierarchy and let the business users explore and quickly see what's happening. Now the button at the top lets you jump back to the page you came from, and I want to go to a different drill through page. So let's go down, and this time let's select the detail by state. So we click on detail by state, and you can see this view is showing me a geographic view. And over on the right, we have a map that shows you based on size how the different states are performing. And the tooltips show up by hovering over those tips. Pretty cool. You can also build custom tooltips to even give more information. So you can show a graphical representation. Now let's go back. In this top chart, it's showing product counts by month and by state. And they are conditionally formatted so you can see exactly how each one of those is performing. And once again, I can jump back to the original page I came from by using that back arrow. Now that's a quick demo of some of the capabilities that Power BI has for highlighting the information. And it's way better to look at this information and quickly see with this conditional formatting by showing bars or by showing colors exactly where the highs and lows are so that a person can quickly navigate to what is causing that by using the ability to drill down or drill through. And you have all the control in the world to design an experience that lets them explore all those paths that a person would want to explore to understand what's really going on. All right, let's go on and talk about one more area where Power BI is really good for. And this area is mobile access to reports. Power BI has an awesome capability built right into the same platform and tool that you're using to design visuals in the Power BI reports. This makes it really simple to access your reports on either phones or tablets. Power BI supports a mobile app on iOS or Android platforms. All you need to do is go out on your phone or tablet to your associated store and download the Power BI app. It's no cost, and it will use the exact same security that you use when you're working on inside your network on a browser. The exact same reports and the visuals associated with that are available, but you can also, for each one of your pages, you can build a mobile optimized view that makes it really easy to interact with your data on your phone at a scale that makes sense to that vertical format that most people use on their phone. And as I mentioned, the exact same security that Microsoft has in place, which is really awesome security, is available on your phone and tablet, but makes it really convenient so that you can you can get up first thing in the morning, jump on Power BI and open up your app and look at the things that are really important to you. All right, I want to go to an example. This is an example of a company. We built this with sample data, but we were building it for an executive that wanted to see retail sales for his company. And those retail sales, he was really interested in seeing them by store location, by department, and by the employees. So you can see we built some visuals and we added some conditional formatting so that he could see how each one was performing. So the cool thing about this is in Power BI, by just clicking on the View menu, you have a mobile layout option in the menu. And when you click on that, it opens up a view of your data with the layout that you can select. Now I'm taking a couple of items off of this so you can see over on the right, every visual that you had on that page is available. You can move things around on this layout. You can change their size. You can select, and just by dragging, the specific visuals that you want. This is the slicer that lets you choose year, and you can see how I can arrange it. I can also add text. And in this example, I've got a title, but it's a little too big to fit on this. Power BI recently added the capability to adjust your mobile view. So you can change the size of fonts. You can change some of the characteristics of your visualization. And you can build this exact layout you want. Now, if you click on that button again, it takes you back to the regular view, the report view. And now what I want to do is show you, after you've published this report, you can open up this document in your mobile phone. This is actually my phone. And when I open Power BI, you can see some of the frequent ones I've added. And I'm clicking on that sample company. And now you can see this visual layout that is optimized and it's fully functional. I can scroll to look at various different charts that have been arranged on this. I can click on slicers and the data responds. So here now I can select all of these years. And every one of the visuals will respond just the way it did in the design on the report that you built. Another cool thing is you can still use your drill through capability. So if I select East Firthingham in Ohio, and then I click on the drill button, it takes me to a report that shows the product sales for that. And then I can bounce right back, just like I did when I was using drill through on the regular report view. I can do the exact same things here within Power BI on the mobile app. Super useful if I'm somebody who's out of the office a lot, or I may not be at a desktop where I can bring up a browser to look at what's happening in my business. If I work with a layout that facilitates an optimal view on a mobile device, I can access my data anywhere, and I still have the ability to explore and see what's happening. Really good functionality. All right. All right, let's go on. I've talked about a lot of the really good stuff. Let's take a few minutes and talk about what is Power BI not good for. So quite often we run into the situation where people want to fully replace, kind of similar to what Bob was doing, what was happening in Excel. And Power BI can do a lot of the features and functions that are available in Excel, and it takes visualization to a whole new level. But there are a few things Power BI is not good for. As a replacement for Excel, Power BI can't fully replace things like Power BI is not really a data entry platform. So it doesn't allow you in any significant way to put in numbers that then will show up in the reports. There are better tools and approaches for that, and we'll talk about some of those in just a minute. Another thing it isn't good, related to manually entering data, a lot of companies have budgets that they want to report against, performance to budget or performance to forecast, or performance to the goals that they've established. Power BI isn't the best platform for entering those numbers. It's better to have an application. In addition, Power BI is not a good platform for fudging your numbers. All right. So if you have a culture where the people that are generating the reports are consistently adjusting those numbers, Power BI is probably not the right platform for that, unless you organize it in such a way that you're entering adjustments into an application and then applying those adjustments. So if you're used to fudging your numbers, probably Power BI is not the best platform for you. So let me talk about a few recommendations for how do you overcome these limitations. The first one is you really should consider using an application such as Power Apps, a fairly low-code application that you can use Microsoft's platform to build out the application. We did some work for an IT organization that had a very dynamic approach to setting goals for their organization. And we helped them build a Power App that they could enter those quarterly goals and maintain those and make sure that they were quality in the way that they entered those goals. Also, the Dynamics platform offers a lot of variety in building out applications, or you may have in your ERP system, you may have the option to establish budgets there and then bring that data over into Power BI. That's a better approach because you can apply data quality controls within the application. Another recommendation, if you don't have the ability to build out an application, you can also use the capability within Excel to create those targets, those goals, those forecasts within a structured Excel file that you store in some place like SharePoint or OneDrive. And then Power BI can connect to that and load it. So the person responsible for generating those goals can continue to maintain it, and Power BI will update those records into the Power BI model so they can be used for reporting. Third, Power BI does have the ability to dynamically display adjustments to the visuals that are being displayed. And they have this concept called a what if parameter. What if parameters can be added to a model, and the range of those values and the grain of those values can be defined. So an example would be if you were using your current sales to forecast your projected revenue, you could create a what if parameter that incremented by 5%. And you could have 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% created in a what if parameter. And with that value, now you can add that slicer onto your report page and then dynamically see what those values would look like if sales were up 5% or if they were up 10%. It's a really nice feature that can allow you to dynamically look at values within your data set. The next thing, what Power BI is not good for. Power BI is not a great platform for printing paper reports. Power BI was really designed to create a new paradigm where your data reporting was much more interactive. And as a result, the intention was to really let people connect to Power BI reports and interact and play with the data. That's really difficult. You can't really do that with printed reports. So one of the things to highlight is Power BI does allow you to print report pages and even to export them into PowerPoint or PDF format, but it'll only display what's visible on the screen, the images that are on the screen. So if your list scrolls off the page, so if you have a list of all your sales, you're only going to see those top sales that are in the visual if you do the export. But another option is that Power BI does give you the ability to export the data behind any visual out to Excel so you could look at that entire report. You could analyze further if that's what you need to do. So recommendations in this. Some of the recommendations are don't build reports that need to be printed. I know this is a cultural thing, but you have to gain trust of your audience that really the value is in that interaction with your data. But some organizations actually can't support that, and they absolutely have to have paper. In those cases, built into the Power BI platform is a concept called paginated reports. And with paginated reports, you need to have a higher Microsoft Power BI license. It requires a premium license to be able to use that capability. The nice thing is it uses that exact same underlying data. All the measures you've created are available for the report that you build, but it does take a little bit more time and it isn't quite as user-friendly to build out a paginated report. It takes a little bit of training and skills to be able to do that. The next category is what Power BI is not good for is really distributing those reports. Power BI has limited ability to send reports via email. It is possible to set subscriptions that can send emails to groups of users, but that email goes if, for example, each individual user has to have different specific parameters set for them, it can require setting up a lot of subscriptions to be able to do that in a variety of ways. So that's a downside. Like I mentioned it, well, no, I didn't, sorry. The premium licenses are required if you want to have a PDF attachment as part of that email. So Power BI lets you, with a premium license, not just export it or send an email with a link to the Power BI file, but also have a PDF file attached to that email. All right, recommendations. So if you'd have to distribute reports, you can use that subscription capability. And if each user has a Power BI license, you can go ahead and open up and interact with those reports. It's a super good way to send out updates to people and have reminders that that data has been updated. Power BI paginated reports is also a way you can go. We talked about paginated reports. Within that, you can set up groups of users to have that report scheduled and distributed to people on a regular basis. So if that's a requirement for your business, that is a way to send them out. Once again, it does use the same data model, and it may take you a little more development time to go and build out those paginated reports. And then finally, recently Power BI enhanced their ability to put live connections inside a PowerPoint presentation so that data from your valuable Power BI reports can be dropped right into a presentation that your executive team is using, and they can interact with it there. All right, let's go back to our story, right? Remember Bob, our analyst that had to each week prepare all of the reports for the executive team. That made it really hard on Bob to get time away. So in our story, Bob decided to reach out to JourneyTEAM and get some assistance in making this automated and better experience for his executive team. So Bob built a data flow and a data set that refreshes daily by implementing Power BI and releasing Power BI reports out onto the Power BI service. He connected that service to his data sources so that the data could automatically flow into the Power BI service. Doing this by creating those data flows, data sets, and setting an automatic refresh schedule. So every day that data can flow through and be as up to date as possible. He also built a data model that would allow for comparisons. He added in comparisons to their goals. He added in the ability to highlight what's important within those and connected that, of course, to the data that was in the Power BI service. And he built those reports that really highlighted what was important to the business. Now those reports are always available, and he used that dimensional model to really provide hierarchies for exploration. So now he's really enhanced those reports from being flat tables to being something really valuable that gave the executives the ability to see insights. And then in addition to that, he designed mobile views. So those executives, if they want to get up early in the morning and see how yesterday's data looked, they can do that very easily. And then finally, he took the time to teach the executives how to get value out of those insights, how to drill down, how to drill through, how to use the mobile app. And now those executives get what they need and more because of Bob implementing this auto refresh. Now, Bob no longer has to be here all the time, every week, doing that manual activity. Bob can now spend more time thinking about, how do I analyze, what do we do about this data that we're seeing in these reports? How can we improve the business instead of just manually updating reports? And then finally, now Bob can start thinking about taking time off away from work where he can enjoy a vacation and not worry about having the data available to his executive team. All right. Now, if you are interested, if you have needs with Power BI, if you want to help automate some of your processes, we'd love to talk to you about it. JourneyTEAM has a lot of experience on our business intelligence and analytics team, helping bring more valuable insights from your data. It's been a pleasure working with you. If you need to contact us, here's some contact information. You can reach out to us, and I hope that this gave you at least some insights to what you can do with Power BI and what you should probably think about not pursuing with Power BI. And if you have a good insight to that, you're going to be able to accomplish great things. All right, that's it. I'm going to turn it back over to Michael. Oh, one more thing I did want to remind you is that on the chat, you should see the survey. It would really help me out if you can take the time to take that survey. Help us know how we can provide even more value to you on future business technology summits. And by all means, if you have questions, reach out to us. Be happy to answer those. I've got a few more minutes. If there's any questions that I can address, just let me know. You can do that either through the chat or the moderators will let me know if there's any questions that have come in.
I'm reading through here, Jim, trying to get, I think we've grabbed mostly thank yous. So I think if we've got any questions out there, yeah. Mostly just thank yous. Are there any questions out there that we can answer? Okay. Where do you find is the best threshold for getting premium licensing for the tenant?
Okay, so that There actually, I think there's a presentation a little later is it today or tomorrow?
In 15 minutes.
Oh, the next presentation actually is going to go into some great detail about how you should consider premium. Premium adds new capabilities. I don't want to steal all their thunder, but there are a handful of things that that you can do. Creating deployment pipelines is one. It increases the capacity or size of your Power BI files. It also allows you to do more refreshes. But you're going to get a whole presentation on that here in just a few minutes if you want to log in and participate in that discussion. So hopefully that answered it. Yeah. So one of the questions is there any alternative to the SSRS subscriptions for scheduling and delivering static reports? So those paginated reports are the primary way. There's also some capability that could be done using Power Automate, but it requires some more licensing and some setup in order to do that. The subscription capability can be used, and you can create distribution groups within Power BI, and someone can set up the schedule and distribution group for a Power BI report. So that is an option. All right, we had one person say that they didn't get invites for all the sessions. So we'll have somebody on the team reach out and make sure that you can access those other sessions and give you instructions on what you need to do.
Hey, Tammy, if you jump into the chat, actually Mariah on our team just posted the registration link. You can actually jump in there and register for other sessions. It's right above your question. You should also be able to jump to our website if you have problems accessing the chat.
Awesome. All right, another question came in from Edgar. He said, have you had successful implementations where you kept Excel as a calculation layer, adjusting the numbers, and used Power BI only for visualization layer? Yes, we have pulled in files from Excel. They can be used in many different ways. Essentially, the Excel file becomes a data source, and all of the values in those columns and rows can be used in any kind of calculation or measure that you create, and then subsequently can be added into visualizations. It's usually not the best approach. It would be better to have an application because people can easily mess up their Excel spreadsheets, and that can cause a data load issue if they change the structure or format or enter in incorrect data. There's no check on that Excel data. All right, there's another question here that Lucas had about Power BI embedded. Are you guys going to touch on that in the later session?
Not much.
So we probably are not going to touch on it much. If you want to get a little more information there's quite a bit to Power BI embedded and a lot of different options. Just to give you a quick idea, Power BI embedded was designed to be able to share things outside your organization and to use a license that you can have as many users as possible outside your organization access it. It starts at $700 per month, but depending on how much traffic, you need to increase that up. All right. So that's what I can share quickly about Power BI embedded. All right, we've hit the end of our time. It has been a pleasure working with you and presenting this information. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And one more reminder, please fill out that survey. It gives you a chance to possibly win some prizes and gives us the valuable feedback we need.
Thank
Enjoy
you
the
so
rest
much,
of the
everyone.
summit.
Have a great day.
Take care.